Good morning, everybody. You're listening to 4 Deep Sports Talk here on the news station, 1320 AM WARA, and on the WARA 1320 Facebook page, as we have the pleasure of having Dan Cormier come back in. Dan, the Hamburglar Cormier, come back in. Can you... Oh, you know what that is? Is that the... We need to shut that door. So we are hearing the feedback from Alexa. Dan, thanks for coming on, brother.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me once again.
Oh, it's me.
Pleasure.
It is me. You know what it is? I forgot to shut the mute off my phone. Oh, there we go. Now we get it. So now that I know it's up and running, I'm going to shut this off. All right, I can hear myself in the background. That was all me, Luce. Had nothing to do with you. All right, so, again. What's that?
I'm not getting any sound in these.
Go ahead, talk.
Hello?
There you go. Oh, you're too loud. All right, Danny, say that again.
Oh, I just played it off like it was her fault still.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Dan, thank you for coming back on. Of course, we have Luce Cabral. Alex Mayo is back in the house. He's doing the engineering with our new Wi-Fi system that operates these fantastic cameras. And, of course, I almost said KC, Catherine Conley, before I said Catherine Conley, a.k.a. KC. And, of course, the sports master.
Can you please turn my audio down? You guys are too loud.
All right, how about that? Is that better?
That's better.
All right, cool.
Can you hear me?
I can hear everybody.
We can hear you just fine.
We can hear. So I got to turn up Dan because Dan's a little soft because he's a little bit too far away. Now he's better. There we go. So Dan, let's. Last time you were on, I had so many different questions, and Luce did a great job talking about MMA fighting.
Yep.
So let's start from the beginning. Let's go into what got you into this. You're a Rhode Island guy by trade, right?
Yeah, Rhode Island, grew up, born and raised, East Providence pretty much. I knew her kids growing up as
Good.
well, so.
So what got you into MMA? When did you start? What made, because it's a passion of yours, I can tell.
All right, well, pretty much how I got into it all originally was I started off wrestling as a kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the reason why I got into wrestling was because my older brother was beating me up too much. So, kind of had to learn how to defend myself in a sense.
Sounds like my house.
You know? But yeah, so picked up wrestling at a young age, like around like elementary, middle school, and then progressed high school wrestling. And after that, went to college, and I was going to try to wrestle in college, but things didn't work out too well, and then I kind of messed around with judo a little bit, and afterwards I kind of just fell into MMA by accident, in a sense, and just took it and ran with it from there.
Now, you mentioned judo. What was judo? Could you tell us the difference between judo and karate and all that other stuff?
Yeah. So,
and why judo?
So basically the background of like everything with MMA is that you are combining so many different aspects of different sports involved. There's wrestling involved, jiu-jitsu's involved, judo's involved, like different styles of karate are involved, Muay Thai, boxing, Muay Lao, kickboxing, a whole span of combative sports. It's what it comes down to.
Have you thought at any time doing the kickboxing? Was that on your list, on your bucket list?
Oh, yeah. I still have a lot of time left, and I do have a lot of other outlets I want to go to. I do want to compete in a boxing fight one day. And I do want to compete in a kickboxing fight and a Muay Thai fight as well. Nice. And pretty much I just want to travel and take the journey and see wherever it takes me.
Now, how old are you?
I'll be 33 in December.
Now, what's usually the rule of thumb for something like that when you're, like you see pro football players and guys, they try to, well, Tom Brady's an exception, but you hear guys like bowing out. This is a physical contact sport.
Yes. Well, the thing is that we go through testing no matter what. So we have to go get physicals done, EKGs done, blood work done, eyes checked, MRIs for your head and everything else. And depending on what's going on, like when you're in the professional rankings, you got to get the MRIs and you got to keep up on your medicals. But at a certain point, if you turn, I think in Massachusetts, if you're over 35 years old maybe or so, you have to get an MRI done every year, or at least you have to get checked out by a neurologist to clear you. So in that way, like, they can't really deny you by any means of competing in that sense.
Oh, wow.
So just, like, make sure that you don't have any, like, previous injuries in the past and stuff?
Exactly, or anything that's going to inhibit you in kind of leave you in danger's way at that point.
You know, he just reminded me of something. I have to give a big shout out to the Good Samaritan MRI department that put up with me this morning. Heather and Rick, I believe, and I forget the other girl who came in. I'm sorry, but thank you thank you very much. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. Sleeping in that box for half an
half
hour.
hour.
Oh my God, it was
Sitting
terrible.
in there. Did you get to pick the music that you want to listen to?
No, just earplugs.
Wow, that's harsh. It's like you're stuck in a spaceship at that point.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I want to make sure you're good. So, so you started at what age?
I started wrestling around 13 years old.
Did you play any high school sports like wrestling?
Yeah, I wrestled throughout high school. Pretty much wrestling was my way of life during a younger age because I played all the other team sports, but I just liked the whole entire fact of when you do something, you need a team to obviously practice with, but like your own hard work really starts to show off itself when you put more time and effort into things. Like the more training that you do, the more work that you do outside the gym, like all your running, your lifting, your diet, your discipline, everything else.
That's cool. Do you have anything from Sportsmaster? Not yet?
Okay, yeah, I thought of one. When you were first starting wrestling, were you the youngest wrestler then at the time?
No, I wasn't, because everything is pretty much in the age category. So no matter what, there was kids in the practice room at the youth league that were like 5 years old. That were
5
in
years
there.
old?
Oh yeah,
5 years
you can start
old,
them really
wow.
young. Yeah, you can start wrestling around like 4 or 5 years old.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, because you can get them into the practice room and practice and stuff. You don't have to necessarily compete. In a parent's point of view, it's giving them time to get some energy out and
Yeah.
learn something. Get them tired so they can sleep at night.
Yeah, right. Like they get them into t-ball and
Yeah,
youth football,
exactly.
flag. I get you. Yeah, that makes sense. I just don't know. Well, I could see my grandson getting something like that because he's wrecking everything at the house.
Well, because I'll suggest like wrestling or jiu-jitsu or
Yeah.
even like judo, mainly because there's no shots to the head
Yeah.
at that point and at a young age. And you learn in a tough, nitty-gritty way of work, very blue-collar style at that point.
All right, I have to apologize because we are just about 10 minutes in the show. If you want to call in, 508-222-1320. If you want to send a message and you want us to ask, if you want us to ask Dan that question, we can do that as well about MMA fighting and all that. Yeah, just go to the WARA Facebook. We're linked with them because this is where we do our show. So now we're linked into their Facebook page. So go right up and you can see Dan's smiley face and everybody else. And Luz Cabral is doing the paparazzi. I know she looks like she's working for the Boston Globe walking around right now, but let's talk about, I think dieting is like huge because God knows I need to go on a diet. So let's talk about the benefits, if you can just elaborate on the benefits of dieting, especially when you're in a contact sport like that, if that's all right.
Yeah, no, that's no problem at all. So pretty much though, like some people always get confused with the term of dieting, but I also use lifestyle choice
Okay.
because it's something that you're going to have to live and breathe and you want to be happy doing it. Only because diets only last so long. It's like a natural timeline and then you get sick of it and then you're like, all right, what next? So I always kind of go with the lifestyle choices and I try to eat very healthy because whatever you put into your body, that's pretty much your fuel that you're taking in.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go out and pound like 4 cheeseburgers before I go to the gym, and think it's going to be a great idea. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have done it before, but it wasn't smart.
So Dan, I don't know if anyone can see this, but he has a huge jug of water
Well, you
in
know what?
front of him.
He might get
Yeah.
he might get in trouble. I don't think the water's supposed to be in there.
My bad.
But that's okay. But I mean, yeah.
Well, but I always-
How much water do you drink a day? That's
Norm-
pretty crazy.
Normally, I try to drink almost, my minimum is 60 ounces a day, but I try to aim for at least a gallon.
Oh, wow.
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 Yeah.
So, what is your normal routine when you get up every day,
Oh, geez, all right.
aside from pounding down the water?
So my normal routine, though, it's like since everything's a little bit different during this pandemic time, obviously, but beforehand, whenever I'm getting ready for something, I schedule out my normal training day. Like a typical day could be like I get up for about maybe 3:30 in the morning, and I'm getting ready to go do boxing at 401 in Providence. And so that'll be from like 4 a.m. to about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Holy smokes.
So I need you to do me one small favor. I just need you to get a little closer to the mic.
All right, no problem.
And then bring it up a little bit. Perfect. Now I got you.
All right, we good?
You're in there, but I was like going back with the.
All right, all
I don't
right.
want. I want people to hear exactly what's coming out of your mouth.
Oh yeah, exactly. No, I hear you. No, so pretty much though, like normally, I'll wake up at about 3:30 or so, give take, and get ready to go boxing for 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And right at 401 in Providence, one of the guys, Jose Santos, he runs an early morning class. So I figured I'd take advantage of that because I'm always up real early in the morning all the time.
Right.
And
4
then-
o'clock in the morning. Jeez, what time do you go to bed?
10.
10? That ain't much.
Sometimes I'll be lucky if I get like 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah, no
Like,
kidding. That can't
I-
be healthy though.
Well, I'm used to it. That's
Yeah,
the thing.
yeah.
I'm very good at staying active the entire day, you know. And so after I get done with like boxing and stuff like that, I'll run back home, get my dog out, get
Yeah.
her fed,
Yeah.
everything else, and then I go to my normal job from 7:30 to 3 at the school that I work at.
Yeah.
Once I'm done with that aspect of my day, I then, like I said, I'll head back home, get my dog out, get her fed, you know, stuff like that. And then I'll go to the gym again at my gym, Triforce MMA, right over here in Pawtucket, that pretty much depending on what's going on, every day is a different scheduled class, but normally I'll be there for about 4 o'clock, 4:30 or so, until about 8 o'clock
Oh wow.
as well.
Yeah,
Big.
that's a good point you mentioned about how your body's used to it. That's big once you get yourself in that routine. All right, so we are going to take our first break. You are listening to 4 Deep Sports Talk here on the news station, 1320 AM WARA, on the WARA Facebook page. When we come back, if you want to give Dan a call or text him, you know, throw a comment in there under the WARA 1320 Facebook page where we're live right now. We'll read it over and we'll get it on the air. We'll be back with more right after this.
Hey everyone, welcome back to 40 Sports Talk here at the news station, 1320 AM WARA. And we have MMA fighter Dan.
Yep. The Hamburglar.
Dan the Hamburglar.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I was trying to spell the poor guy's name. I goofed that up too. So
I don't know why
I
I
feel your
keep
pain.
thinking Nick.
that's all right. All right. So we talked a little bit about nutrition, right? I don't know. Do you have something you want to dive into, Justin? Just dive in. Nothing yet.
What's the average health nutrition stuff a wrestler eats?
Yeah.
Oh,
good point.
geez. So pretty much everyone's body's different, obviously. So you have to kind of figure out what works for you first. And for someone like me, I eat a lot of vegetables, pretty much. Do a lot of like carrots, asparagus, spinach, broccoli, cauliflower, and then on top of that, it's like I'll have like nice lean proteins as well, with like either chicken, steak, some fish here and there, some bison, all in good portion size, nothing too crazy. And as you guys can see, a lot of water as well, and my don't get me wrong, I have a sweet tooth where I do like to have a lot of fun food, I call it, where like I like my candy and my ice cream, but during like a fight camp, I don't really eat that stuff. But since nothing's really going on right now, so I've been kind of indulging in a Twix here and there or some Reese's Pieces, but once I eat it, I feel guilty. Then I go out and like do a run and get a workout in, just so that way I can justify eating it.
Oh, okay. So after you eat the garbage, you want to try to burn it.
Yeah, I burn it off right away.
Well, is it easy to burn it off because of the sugar boost?
I mean, technically, in theory, yeah, it's pretty easy to burn off, but more so the fact that like my body, whenever I throw something foreign into it, it's kind of like, what are you doing to me right now? I'm used to eating this like clean food all the time. And then once you throw something that's a little bit different, your body kind of responds differently. And I don't like the way that I feel between like getting too much sugar and then having that crash and just feeling lethargic and just downright tired. You
Now,
know?
when was your first fight?
Oh, God. My first fight, I would probably say back in like June of 2000, maybe 10.
2010.
Yeah.
Now, what weight class were you in then? Are you in a different weight class you were back then?
Yeah, I'm in a different one right now than I was back then. But otherwise, like I fly between two of them pretty much because there's not many people around my size.
Yeah.
So I'll fight at flyweight, which is 125 pounds, or I'll fight at strawweight, which is 115 pounds.
Okay.
And pretty much whenever I do fight at flyweight, the higher weight, I can kind of eat a little bit more and have a little bit more free range
Yeah.
of how much to eat because it's not a hard weight cut for me to make that. But then if I drop down to 115, I got to be really picky about how much I'm eating, when I'm eating, and how much water I'm taking in, like how many calories I'm burning per day,
Yeah.
and everything else.
So let's go back to your first fight. We're gonna turn down my volume before I. Where am I? Sorry about that. So let's go over your first fight 10 years ago. Where was it, and how soon did you know you were going into that fight? You know what I mean?
No,
You can
so-
just give us the whole
Oh,
layout
I'll give you the whole story.
and the do's and don'ts.
So pretty much what ended up happening was I was training for a little bit, and then I went on a vacation. So I went out with my family on a cruise, everything else, And I get back from my cruise. My friend signs, the team that I was training with at the time, my friend signed me up for a fight in about 4 weeks. I was only trained for maybe like 2 months at most. Just a wrestling background, nothing else. Had no hands yet, no skills in anything else. Just nitty gritty, tough, get in there, do what you gotta do, And so when I came back from vacation, she goes, "Oh yeah, you're fighting in about 3 weeks, 4 weeks." I was like, "Oh, all right, well, thank you for the consent, type thing." And it was actually at the Holiday Inn in Mansfield.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so it was pretty local,
Yeah.
And that was back in the amateur days, so. And that was against this kid, Miko Delos Reyes, out of Groton, Connecticut. And I didn't know what his background was or anything like that. And pretty much, I just went in there. I took the guy down, and I just, in lack of a bad term, I put my fist to his face.
Yeah, did what you had to do, right?
But I did what I had to do. But I knew because I didn't have like a good boxing background at the time, or I didn't have like any good jiu-jitsu, so I just took him down and just did what I knew how to do at that time.
Now you, so you had no film on this guy because I usually say
No
did
film.
I got a question. So my other question, as an old ex-coach, I'm curious, did you look him up, even though you beat him? Did you look him up just to see anything about him, or did you just...
Well, during that time, like, because amateurs were fairly new, and not many people, if someone doesn't really have, like, a record beforehand, you can't really find much on them.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of like you don't really know what you're getting yourself into.
Right.
At that point. But nowadays, it's a totally different ball game where, like, even people have, like, videos of, like, their grappling tournaments that they've done, or their wrestling tournaments, or boxing backgrounds, you know. It's a lot easier to find information now than it used to be beforehand.
Yeah, 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, like, big changes have happened over the past 10 years, you know. It's crazy.
Now, I want to make sure I understood this. These guys probably already heard it. So you fight... You're fighting out of a club, a certain club, and who's that club? Am I saying that right?
Well, I fight out of Triforce MMA, which is my home base gym,
Okay.
pretty much, and that's where I've been molded pretty much from day one there. I've always gone there. I've been teaching there and going there for the past, like, 8-9 years already.
All right, so we do have a question. Nate Rollins is Nate Rollins, who helps us out with the Whitman, Hanson, East Bridgewater area and everything else.
Yep.
He has a question. He said, "What is his question is the adversity that you faced, and how did you overcome it? What was your biggest adversity, and how did you overcome it?"
God, adversity. So
Thank you, Nate.
pretty much just like on an everyday basis of trying to like get through life and be able to do this, you know. And the biggest adversity I would probably say through everything was getting my family to accept it first. Because they weren't very accepting of it. My mother wasn't too happy. My dad was thinking I was crazy, and my brother was kind of like, "What are you doing? You know, do you really know what you're getting yourself into?" And they were all like nervous for me and about me because school and college wasn't really working for me.
Yeah.
You know, and because my dad's very educated, my mom's educated, my brother's very educated. You know, who I love them all dearly, but we all have our own path to go down to. And so pretty much it was just getting them to accept the fact that this is who I am, this is what I am going to do. You know, it's either you're on board or you're not. But
Yeah.
no matter what your decision is, I'm still doing it because I'm doing what I'm passionate about. I could be out going to like bars and stuff and getting into fights and getting into bigger trouble, or I could be doing it in a sanctioned, organized manner.
Yeah.
You know. So, but that honestly, it was probably getting the family to accept it was like the biggest adversity because you have to prove to them that you can still hold a full-time main job and live your everyday responsibilities still while doing this on the side.
Yeah. Was that mom and dad's big concern? You think the idea that you could get knocked out and not make it to work on Monday, kind of like the semi-pro football
Well, I
players?
think that they were just more concerned at the fact that I was letting it kind of take place of going to college because I was at Rhode Island College at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm not very great with, like I was talking with Lucy about this, about abstract ideas. I'm a very concrete, like, hands-on person.
Yeah.
I'm a very trial and error as well, too. I'll fail 9 times, but then by the time that 10th time comes around and I get it right, then it's going to stay with me.
Right, like anybody else. You fall down, if you love it,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
stay with
You
it.
get
Yep.
back up, you know.
Yeah, awesome.
But yeah, like the biggest adversity though for Nate was getting my family to accept it, you know, and just being okay knowing that I have a plan and I'm going to execute it and I'm not going to take too much damage during the process.
So I don't know if I got the answer. I just want to elaborate a little bit more. How did you twist mom and dad's arm to say, you know what, I will go to work on Monday, la da 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 da. How did you make them at ease? Because that can't be easy for a parent.
It was kind of after my first fight, once my mom kind of saw me walk out the cage afterwards. She was in tears.
Aw, happy
And
tears.
then I was like, Ma, relax, I'm good.
Was it happy tears or sad tears?
She was happy, but it was more so she was so nervous because it's not like any wrestling match that she's been to where you get back up after like a pin happens or anything like that, you know, or you lose on points. No, you're going in there, you're taking some physical damage, and they have to sit there and watch it knowing that they can't do anything about it to defend me by any means.
Right.
And so they kind of got used to it once they saw all the hard work I've been putting in and results I've been getting. They're like, okay, he's fine. He knows what he's doing. And every time, don't get me wrong, every time I do fight, and it doesn't matter, my mom is always a nervous Nelly.
Oh, that's mom.
Oh yeah, it's been I've had about maybe 20 some odd fights already, and she's the same way for every single one of them.
All right, let's ask him the big question, Sportsmaster. What's your record with 20? With 20?
Oh goodness, it's different because I have my amateur record combined and my pro record combined. But my pro record, I'm 8-10 right now, and mainly because I took a lot of chances when I was younger in my career, which I should have thought of twice, but I didn't have management at that time. And then when I was an amateur, I was 6-2.
So when you became pro, and I wanted to ask you about that in a minute,
Mm-hmm.
about how to become a pro MMA fighter. So when you became pro, did you say I want to fight this guy, or did the club say, what do you think about fighting this guy, and then you just dove right in?
So what happens is when you go pro, there's not like a thing you have to fill out, or there's no like really like a restriction or a qualification.
Yeah.
It's more like, well, when you're ready, you'll know you're ready, and you can just go ahead and do it.
So there's no license or nothing like that?
You have to get licensed through the state still.
Yeah.
But more so the fact that you just fill out paperwork and make sure that you pass all your tests that you need
Like
to.
you mentioned earlier, yeah.
Yep. And yeah, that's really about it. It's like, but then if you have like a management team, they'll make sure that you hit milestones first and stuff like that. And when I was younger in my career, I would say I was pretty immature about certain things, and I was lacking skills still. But during that time, like, you just don't realize what you're getting yourself into. But I'm glad I still went through the experience, because now the people that I help through that process growing up now, I can kind of foresee certain things that they need to work on before they make that transition into pro.
Yeah.
Just so that way they can learn from my mistakes versus,
That's pretty cool. All right, we are going to take our second break. If you want to call, talk, have a question for Dan, or, as they say, hit us up with a comment on the WARA 1320 AM Facebook page. Again, call in 508-222-1320. We are highlighting Dan the Hamburglar Cormier, professional MMA fighter. We'll be back with more right after this.
Hey, welcome back to the show. We have MMA fighter Dan Cormier.
And we're back. Yep, that's right. We have Dan the Hamburglar coming.
Hamburger.
See, for you, you can say it. For me, he'll probably like put me in a full Nelson or something. You know what I mean?
Nah, you're in rough shape right now. I don't need to do anything right.
By any chance, Dan, are you craving a hamburger right now?
You know what? I could always go for a nice cheeseburger. I'm always down for that. You
That
know?
was awesome. That was awesome. What do you think? A cheeseburger or a hamburger?
I've
Or
only,
bacon
I've
or
only,
bacon cheeseburger.
I've only eaten a cheeseburger. I've never eaten a hamburger plain before.
It's not that good.
Yeah, you need to add some toppings on that.
So why Hamburglar?
Oh God, that was a story back in. So when I first started with the amateur days, like I was telling him earlier, so it was my brother and this other guy, Ruben Ray. So when I would go to weigh-ins all the time, I was a very undersized person showing up because during that time they didn't have my weight classes yet, so I was going up like 2 weight classes. So I'd weigh in with like my jeans, my shoes, a shirt, a backpack, and I'd be eating a cheeseburger on the scale while they're weighing me. And so pretty much I would always get overlooked as a opponent, you know. And then out of nowhere, I was just picking people up and dropping them on their head or their back, you know, and then doing what I always did. And then out of nowhere, my brother was just like, "Oh yeah, you're stealing victories like burgers, like the Hamburglar would," and that's kind of how it came.
That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that's kind of how
That
it
is a good
came
story.
about. And then someone heard the comment on like Northeast MMA or something like that. One of the writers during that time, some guy named Old School, and then he ended up saying like, "Oh yeah, you know, it's like he's stealing the burgers like the Hamburglar," and then out of nowhere, it kind of just stuck. And I had no choice at that point, you know, and everyone just started calling me Burglar, Hamburglar, and I'm like, you can't choose your own nickname. So
That's funny. So Nate just called. Nate just sent another comment on Facebook, and he wants to know what is your greatest accomplishment.
That's a great question.
What coming from him? Yeah.
all right, well, there's one of two things that top everything right now. It's earning my black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that was about a 10-year journey
Wow.
of earning that.
10 years.
10 years.
Yikes.
Yeah, because when I started doing all this, I was around 21, 22. And that was 10 years, you know, and I'm affiliated with Carlos Machado, who is one of the original family members that brought Jiu-Jitsu over to America.
Oh, wow.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
And his headquarters is in Texas.
Okay.
And we have seminars with him, and he comes up here, and I got promoted through my coach by him, so that was kind of cool. But then the other one was fighting under the Bellator banner last October, around then, yeah.
And explain what that is.
So Bellator is one of the top promotions in the world, and they're with like UFC, One Championship, and everything else. And mainly when I first started this, I wanted to make it to either my 3 main ones were One Championship, UFC, or Bellator. So I hit that milestone. But the thing is though, like I don't want to be good enough just to get there. My goal is to get there and then stay there, which is that much harder. But now with all this pandemic stuff going on right now, it's kind of tough to get anywhere right now. But still gotta keep training every day and just keep working at it little by little.
That must have shut him down big time. You know, no contact, stuff like that. It's contact sport.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of time like me, like my brother and myself, since we're family members, we'd hold mitts for each other and drill certain things here and there, you know, like at my house because we could do that. But yeah, like during this time, it's definitely tough with the contact, like solo drills, stuff like I did a lot of weightlifting, a lot of bag work, a lot of running. Just staying active because you can never know what could happen. You know,
Yeah,
'cause,
exactly.
like, you have the UFC right now that's still running cards, and then you have Bellator that's doing stuff over at Mohegan Sun. So it's like you still have to be in the best shape that you can in case like a call happens. You just never know. It could happen on like 2 weeks' notice, or it could happen on 3 days' notice.
I'm playing devil's advocate when I say this.
Yeah.
So, do you think you're honestly, you honestly get a good look having an 8-10 record to get yourself
No.
on one of these cars?
No, I don't.
How do we fix that?
Well, the thing is, though, like I said, I've been fighting out of my weight class for a while. So whenever I fight at 125, I give up a little bit of the size advantage because my natural walk around weight is not that much higher than that. So when you normally fight people, they do a weight cut, so they lose a bunch of weight to get down to that lighter weight, and then the next day we have a 24-hour recovery process period that we're allowed.
Yep.
So the next day they'll put on maybe about 20 some odd pounds or more overnight.
Let me figure this out because I'm really slow. I'm
No,
pretty
I think
slow.
I'm with you there.
So your 8-10 record, you were fighting out of your original weight class?
Because I had no one to fight.
Oh, okay. All
There you
right.
go.
But then when you see videos of me fighting at like 125, but then you see videos of me fighting at 115, you see a different story. Because at 115, I'm a bigger person at that weight. And my skills show up a lot more where I can actually show people what I can do. Versus when I'm at 125, I have to kind of play things a little differently because I'm giving up size and strength.
What about reach?
That too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
But the thing is, I'm very tricky on paper, mainly because when you look at somebody who's like an 8 and 10 fighter, you're like, oh man, that they're a journeyman. Yes, I'm a journeyman. I'll admit that. But when you look at like what I have for like my credentials, it's like black belt in jiu-jitsu, very good stand-up game, good at wrestling. So I'm not like an easy task by any means.
Right. That's my point.
But that's where I'm very tricky because if someone loses to me, they're like, oh, you lost to a guy with a losing record. But then when you look at the people who I fought, you'll sing a different tune after that one because I fought nothing but top tier level.
So now I'm getting irritated for you because I'm watching you and you're doing a great job explaining it. And it's probably the coach in me, you know what I mean, coming out. How many wins do you have at 115 pounds and as a pro?
That's very different because of the fact of.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm 2-1 at 115, and I had about 3 fights lined up before a pandemic happened.
Ah, so you see where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, Jay? He's 100. He can do the 115 weight thing, right? He's 2-1, but he brought himself up to a $125 weight, and he's competing. He's getting there. He's just not getting the W's. Not getting the wins. But does that also change your mindset going into a fight, even though it's 10 pounds more?
Well,
does that trick you?
The only thing that's tricky about it is because I have to take a different game plan, where I have to either move around a lot more, or I just have to I have to have a very strategic game plan on what I'm going to do.
But do you overthink it though? Sometimes.
But
put yourself in a corner.
You can overthink it, but then also the fact too, it's like you can take an accidental shot that you didn't see coming, and then you get rocked for like a round, and then you're still not there. You're just on autopilot.
Yeah.
Trying to
grab your composure back.
That's happened to me quite a few times where I got headbutted in my last fight in the first round within the first like 30 seconds, and it was the ref didn't catch it, so obviously you can't stop anything. And that means, but I didn't wake up until the 3rd round. I didn't know where I was.
You were Neverland, just
I
going
was
through the
in
motions.
Neverland for a while.
I can't imagine how that must feel, being headbutted. I think that's happened to me before.
I remember throwing a fist and then waking up, and then the guy was on top of me, and I'm like, okay, how'd I get here?
Oh, jeez.
Like, and I'm just, I did fine though. Like, I kept myself safe. I didn't take any unnecessary risk. I didn't take any more damage. But you could tell that I wasn't there. Like, in my facial expression, in my eyes, I was just like,
Yeah.
like where
That's
am I
crazy.
still?
I walked into a door once and got headbutted by a door once, but it was dark outside.
Yeah.
The lights went out in the room. So let's talk about the rules of MMA. I think that's pretty cool because you talked about headbutting, and Jay, you got something?
Yeah, I just have some.
Please.
Is it hard to fight with the bright lights on?
So honestly, there are jitters. So when you're under like a bigger banner, if you let it get to you, it'll get to you. But then if you just treat it like every other fight and you just go out there and like find your own rhythm, then you'll be absolutely fine at that point. Because it all depends on how you're going to look at it, whether you put unnecessary pressure on yourself or not.
And I'm sure the crowd has a lot to do with that as well.
Like
too,
the crowd,
right?
the arena,
Sure.
like TV, brighter lights, type thing. yeah, like I said, if you let it get to you, it's gonna get to you at that point. But it all depends on how well you can control your emotions.
A lot of
from there.
focus.
Yeah, pretty much. You have to have a very serious tunnel vision going on where nothing else matters but you and your coach's voice that you can hear in the corner.
So let's talk about the rules of MMA. A lot of people look at it like, well, he's going to punch him in the face. First, you probably take him down, but then can he? Because there's a lot of illegals that the refs, because a ref is off to the sideline. And I don't want to use professional wrestling as an example, but it's the same idea with a referee, even though
Yeah,
the
they're
referee,
circling, they're looking,
Right.
and they're watching.
correct. So what are some of the stipulations and rules in this MMA?
All right, well, obviously, there's no groin shots allowed type thing. And then if a groin shot happens, you're supposed to be allowed up to about 5 minutes of recovery time. And then if your opponent does it too many times to you, it could be deducting points. And then if he does it too many times, and then disqualification. And then accidental eye gouging, because sometimes when you're throwing a punch or if you're jabbing, you'll leave your thumb out there and you'll catch a thumb in the eye.
Yeah, but some people probably do it deliberate too, because they don't have a good game, right?
Well, the thing is too that it's also the way is that you have to look at it. It's like, all right, well, you're allowed kind of like one freebie is how you look at it.
One mulligan?
One mulligan, yes, exactly. Because you could be sitting out there where it's like, all right, you're doing good, but then you get poked in the eye that one time, you can't see anymore.
Yeah.
And being a fighter, you're not gonna be like, no, I can't see. No, you're gonna go out there and still do what you need to do. You're just gonna lie to the ref and be like, oh yeah, I can see you now. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Whatever,
Kind of like a Rocky movie, they tap you in the shoulder.
Yeah,
How
exactly.
many fingers I get up? They tap you in the
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you ever seen that?
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, that's pretty fun. That's Hollywood, but.
Yeah. Oh, you'll be surprised at almost how many identical things can happen in that sense too.
Oh, yeah. So, we're going to take our last break.
Yep.
You are listening to 4 Deep Sports Talk here on the news station. 1320 AM WARA, and we got some great news about a Little League game we're covering this week, and of course 1320 AM has a lot to do with it as well. We'll touch on that. We'll touch on that when we get back. We are highlighting Dan the Hamburglar Cormier. She actually said it right. If you want to call him, we get back. We still have time at 508-222-1320, or do what Nate Rollins did and shoot us over a text, and we'll throw the question over to Dan. We'll be back with more right after this.
It was funny. One of my friends texted me. They're like, "Oh yeah, well you didn't say anything about the bag of Swedish fish you ate the other day." I'm like, "I know."
Yeah, I didn't get that.
I don't know if this happened to you, but yesterday I accidentally punched myself.
Oh God, I've done that a lot of times by accident. Oh yeah.
Hey everyone, welcome back to 4 Deep Sports Talk. This is Catherine Conley, aka KC, with the rest of the crew. We are here with the MMA fighter Dan the Hand Burglar Cormier. So I wanted to ask you, are there any other disciplines in MMA, like any certain type of rules?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of disciplines that go on where you can start off like how I did. You grew up with a wrestling background, but then you also have to learn how to understand what ground fighting is. So that's where jiu-jitsu comes in, which is how to manipulate a person who's much larger by using leverage and strategy and tactics. And also you have people who understand kickboxing and boxing as well, with Muay Thai is involved in it, which means that when you're boxing, you're just using your hands and you're throwing combinations. But then when you start using kickboxing, you start using obviously leg kicks to the body, leg kicks to their legs, and using your hands. And then once you transition to Muay Thai is the art of 8 limbs, where you have your hands, your elbows, your knees, and your shins. So you have more weapons that you're allowed to use on somebody. And pretty much it's combining everything together that best suits your style and how you want to display your art at that point.
So all of that fighting, like you think all that's similar, like between like actual wrestling and MMA, like are there any like certain types of moves that you're allowed to use?
I mean, with mixed martial arts, you have a lot that you're allowed to use, but like I was saying earlier, you're not allowed to do any groin strikes or eye gouging or punching to the spine or the back of the head, because those are sensitive areas that they don't want you hitting, because it could lead to very permanent damage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we elaborate, just finish up with that? We talked a little bit about the penalties. You mentioned you mentioned about the groin strikes, 5 minutes. And if you do it again, you get penalized. But could you add more things, more rules that people may not be aware of? Headbutting was the other one.
Headbutting, yep. And then even throwing a downward elbow 12-6 is not allowed, which pretty much means that just like this, if I was to drop my cell phone, that's what 12-6 means, that you can't take your elbow and drive it straight down into somebody.
Oh, that's what it is, like an elbow move to like any type of body part?
Well, pretty much to at least the head or the face. Because of the fact, like, the old school, like, methodology of it was because they saw, like, karate people breaking bricks doing that strike with their elbows, and they think that they would do that to your skull, in other words. And
so they think like they're like the world's strongest person, like almost like the show World's Strongest Man.
Yeah, pretty much world's strongest elbow, you know. No, but otherwise, though, to me, it doesn't make that much sense because of the fact that it's still the same weapon no matter how you angle it at that point. You know, it's like I'd rather not take, like, a knee to the head versus, like, I don't know, it's all preferences with everything, because, like, in Muay Thai, you can do, like, 12-6 elbows pretty much coming down that way while jumping at somebody doing it. But MMA, they have all their rules and regulations, and you have to kind of abide by them. So
Okay. So, I just want to get this out. I know I thanked the people over at Good Samaritan this morning, but on Monday, and I'm trying to think how we can say this. So, anyway, 4 Deep Sports Talk, along with 1320 AM WARA, we are going to give you the East Bridgewater Little League Championship Series. It starts Monday. First pitch is at 6 for Game 1. Game 2 is 7, and then they go back to 6 o'clock if there's a Game 3 needed. So you can check that out. Should be a great time as we start to get back into some type of normalcy here, I guess. And that should be a lot of fun. Check us out on 1320 AM. And, of course, people in East Bridgewater that can't pick up the station can always listen on tune-ins. And it'll be myself and hopefully the crew. I'm going to get one guy's arm across the table. I'm trying to twist, but maybe I'll get him over there if he's not too busy. Of course, I'm referring to the sportsmaster. So I just want to get that out. I should have done that in the beginning. I apologize. So we talked a little bit about the disciplines. We talked about the rules of it, and now people realize. I thought that was pretty brave of you to mention that your record was 8-10, but no one realizes you're fighting 10 pounds over your limit. and I think that's important, and people need to get out there. So you also said you had 3 fights back in your weight class that got postponed because of the...
Because of all this.
Yeah, so how is that supposed to play out for you? How was the schedule supposed to be?
Well, as of right now, everything's in the air right now.
Yeah.
You know, because so when all this happened, I was actually getting out of the sauna. I just got done cutting all the weight that I needed to.
Yeah.
And then I get a call from my manager saying that the card is off. So pretty much like right around 2:30, 3 o'clock, I just got out of the sauna around like 1. I'm looking like a raisin, not very happy, you know.
Right, got down to
And
your weight.
I'm laying down on my bed waiting for my ride to come get me at that time. And then I get the call like, oh, the card's off. The Massachusetts Athletic Commission called it. And then I had no energy to be angry. I was just like, I'm going to go get some food. You know? So I went out and got my cheeseburger and I had my Swedish fish and everything
The
else.
Hamburger got his burger in.
Yep, that's right. But then, so when that happened, all right, I did that, you know. But then I also had another fight lined up in April with CES at Twin River over here at my weight. And that got canceled because of all this. And then I was actually going to be having a strawweight title fight for reality fighting at Mohegan Sun in June. But then, obviously, that didn't work out according to plan. So,
Yeah, right. Okay.
so pretty much I had 3 fights lined up. Finally, the way that the stars were supposed to align, you know, the way, because my goal is to get to 1FC because they're the only ones that have the men's 115-pound weight class, and they're in Middle Asia over there, Mideast Asia. And I felt like that would have finally gave me, like, the cementing aspect
Right.
of it all to finally get there. But this happened. Just put a little obstacle in the way for right now.
So what are you hearing now about this all coming back? What's you know what I mean?
I heard that possibly no cards pretty much right now in Massachusetts until at least like 2021 maybe.
Yeah, until they come out with a vaccine or something.
Yeah, or at least like the other idea that people can do, unless if the promotion can afford to sanitize everything and make sure like the mat gets cleaned between fights and stuff like that. I mean, it's gonna be tough, but unless if you're a bigger name organization, like how the UFC is still having fight cards because they can do pay-per-views, people pay to watch it, they got sponsors, they got heavy names, you know. And then same thing with Bellator, they're at Mohegan Sun, they're putting on fight cards, but no audience.
Yeah, it's kind of like the pros are doing in the sports.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind
yeah.
of crazy, but
I mean, it's kind of interesting because I feel like it would, for some people, that might be beneficial because it'll take away the distraction of the crowd, and then everything will be the same,
good point.
you know.
Yeah.
And then the fact that but then the cool part about it is you can hear like the coaches in the corner actually yelling during all that time because then you can understand like what really goes into it all. Like some coaches will have like code languages for you to do certain things, so in that way,
Yeah.
the other person doesn't know what's going on.
So now your license. We talked about your license. You got a license in Rhode Island professionally.
In Mass, yeah,
And Mass.
and New Hampshire,
So
and
the-
Connecticut.
So you're covered nationwide, right?
Well, pretty much every state has their own regulation body.
Yeah.
So what you have to do is submit all your like medical tests to the sanctioning body. They double check it with their doctor to make sure everything lines up, and then you pay your fee to get the license and everything else.
What's the turnaround time for that?
It depends on how quickly you get your medicals done.
Oh, okay. Right.
So like in a sense, like normally like you will want to have your medicals in like maybe like 2 weeks beforehand, at least the latest. So if I was fighting like April 30th, then I would have to have my medicals in by at least like April 15th, the latest.
Yeah, because you talked about going to Wyoming, right? When we were on the couch.
South
Maybe
Dakota,
South
yeah.
Dakota. So you'd have to do the same thing to go out there, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, but the thing is that a lot of medicals, they last for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
So, for example, like your eye test, your eye vision. So once you get that done, you're pretty much good for a year with that. Same thing with your physical and EKG. Like certain states allow certain time frames.
Yeah.
So like in Massachusetts, your EKG is allotted about 5 years where it's good. and then your eye test is allotted a year, and then your blood work, depending here and there, is usually, I think the new regulation that they just passed is a year for the blood work now.
So we got to sign off here, but
Yeah.
I allowed a couple of minutes prior to signing off. Who do you want to shout out to? Anybody want to shout out to?
Oh, I want to shout out to my team, obviously Triforce MMA and the affiliate of RCJ Marshall Jiu Jitsu, my Muay Lao coach as well, and then 401 Boxing with Jose Santos, and then Strength and Condition with Keith Jeffrey at TFW Rhode Island in Pawtucket, and also you guys here as well too, doing an awesome job
Thanks.
with promoting everything that you do.
Ah,
You know.
thanks, Dan.
Thanks.
Oh yeah, I
Thank
mean
you.
you guys are looking out for like not just one. You're looking out for every aspect, you know, and it's awesome when you guys are doing this, you know, and it's very admirable, giving everyone a chance, you know.
Yeah, we love to do it.
Oh,
So
and
now
you
you're
guys
gonna
have a
spread
great
the
team
word.
with each other, you know.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem.
All right, so that'll do it for Luce Cabral. Alex Mayo doing all the engineering in the other room, of course, a.k.a. Catherine Conlon, a.k.a. KC, and the sportsmaster himself, Justin Ferreira. We will catch you next time. Everyone have a fantastic weekend.